Okay, today officially marks the 1 year anniversary of Inanimate Insanity. To celebrate, I'm gonna be ranking every Inanimate Insanity episode as of season 3, episode 7. I just wanted to make it known that this is made as of best served cold. If you're watching this in the future and more episodes are out, and you don't see them on this list, that's why. So um Happy 11-year anniversary in Admin Insanity, and yeah, let's get started. First up, we got episode 1, The Crappy Cliff. Honestly, I think it's a pretty mediocre start to the series. I mean, episode wise, I think it was pretty mediocre and pretty boring. Um, I wouldn't want to put it like very low, like F tier, but this is the first episode, so I guess we'll cut it some slack. So I'll put it in very low D tier, very low D tier. Uh, Next up, we got episode 2, a lemony quest. For some reason, I always want to call this episode a lemony. Okay, this is called a lemony lesson. Yeah, for some reason, I always want to call this a lemony quest. For some reason, but anyway, I thought this episode was definitely an improvement from episode 1. I mean, I really did like Balloon in early season 1. I feel like he definitely improved. I feel like his presence alone really improved the quality of the first few episodes of Inanimate Insanity. I really just like his interactions with Team Chicken Leg. They're really nice to watch. They really are. Um, especially his interactions with Taco. Um, I will say that a problem with this episode is that it focuses a lot more on Team Chicken Leg than Team Epic. But yeah, overall, I think this is pretty mediocre. So I'll put this D tier above episode 1. Episode 3, I actually think this is set down from episode 2, but better than episode 1. I found it to be pretty good. I like the challenge section of the episode. I like the interactions between Baseball and Nickel throughout the challenge. Um, One thing that kind of holds it back is that it's a lot less action packed. It feels like pretty basic. Um, but yeah, I feel like out of the early episodes, this is honestly one of the better ones. So yeah, I'll put a D tier in between these two episodes. Next up, we got episode 4, One Shot Wonder. Um, I thought this was pretty good. I thought it was pretty good for the most part. Uh, One thing I like about this episode is that it shows the team dynamics really well. Like, it shows Balloon's alliance that consists of Balloon, OJ, and Bomb on Team Chicken Leg, and it also shows the rivalry between Marshmallow and Knife on Team Epic. So that's definitely a plus that this episode has. Um, yeah, overall, I think this is a pretty good episode. So I'm gonna put this D tier above Lemony Lesson. Episode 5, The Stacker. This is pretty obvious. It's going in F tier. Like, I mean, the concept was good, but the execution was anything but good. I mean, they literally just got rid of half the challenge. So, I mean, that's definitely something that holds it back. Um, yeah, overall, I did not like this episode. I'd say it's probably like the worst season 1 episode, in my opinion. Um, Episode 5.5, a new stage in the game. I actually don't think it's kind of fair to rank it amongst the other episodes since this is technically not an episode. It's just showing off the recommended characters. Um, so yeah, I'm just gonna kind of put it like F tier below the stacker, I guess. Um, Next up we got episode 6, Wardy Guacamole. I thought this was pretty good. I actually am gonna put this fairly high, so yeah, I'll put it C tier. Um, I like the challenge. It shows the team dynamics pretty well. Um, but the main highlight of this episode is easily the debut challenge with all 10 of the debuters. Um, Also, I just really like Methone during the debut challenge because I mean Methone just essentially going, "Hey, here we go and shoot each other." Last person standing gets to join my show is pretty much the epitome of Methone and in season one of Inanimate Insanity. Um, but yeah, here's a little fun fact. The debuter was originally going to be Teddy Bear, but it was changed to Apple at the last minute. So yeah, that's a little fun fact. Yeah, overall, I think Wordy Guacamole was pretty good. Was pretty good episode. Pretty good episode. Uh, Episode 7, Sugar Rush. I'm also gonna put this C tier, but below Wordy Guacamole. I mean, this is pretty good for the Halloween special of the series. I thought it was pretty decent. Um, One thing that I do not like about this episode is that the challenge is pretty fast paced. I mean, the pacing is just a little too fast about that throughout the episode in general. So I feel like that really holds it back. But overall, I think it was a pretty decent episode of season one. So yeah, I'll put it there. Uh, Next up, we got episode 8, Foreseeing the Future. Um, I actually thought most of this episode was pretty bad in my opinion. Um, this is honestly a kind of like the beginning of this episode was pretty slow paced. Um, a positive is that it does introduce Mifune 4S into the series, but in all honesty, I'm pretty mixed towards Mifune 4S. Uh, um, Actually, I do plan on doing an Inanimate Insanity characters tier list eventually. So yeah, maybe there I'll go more in depth about my opinions on Mifune Forest. But anyway, back on to get back on track. Um, the I feel like the main highlight about this episode is when Marshmallow, OJ, and Taco go back in time to save Mifune before he was shot. I mean, it's honestly the only interesting thing that happened in this episode. Everything else is kind of boring. However, I do really like how we found Forrest interacted with the contestant. It was pretty funny. So yeah, I'm gonna put this low C tier. Next up we got the Snowdown. This is easily one of my favorite season one episodes, mainly because of how well it shows the team dynamics. Like we got the playful relationship between OJ and Salt. We got the rivalry between Marshmallow and Apple. Also, I did really like Paintbrush in this episode, especially when Team Chicken Leg won. One because I mean their Christmas tree fit the spirit of Christmas more, and Paintbrush's reaction to that. But yeah, overall I think this is definitely one of the better episodes of season one. So I'm gonna put this high C tier above Wordy Guacamole. Next up we got episode 10, Double Digit Desert. Um, I thought it was a pretty good episode. Pretty good episode. Um, the whole Bo joining the game thing did feel kind of forced in my opinion, but I like that Paper came back. The joke about the contestant magnet was also a real magnet, so Saul couldn't compete was was a pretty funny joke. It does get me a few times whenever I rewatch this episode. Um, Also, I wasn't a big fan of OJ bet- betraying OJ being betrayed by Bomb at the end of the challenge. But even though I'm saying a lot of negatives about this episode, it does have a few positives. Like I liked the area at the desert. I liked the character interactions um throughout the challenge, and also really liked the setting for the desert. It was really nice to look at. Also, the merge started in this episode, which was also pretty good too. Um, So yeah, I'm gonna put this C tier above Gordy Guacamole. Next we got episode 11, Aquatic Conflict. I thought this was pretty decent. One of the more mediocre episodes of season one. Um, I like the a lot more friendships start throughout this episode, like the friendship between Paper and OJ, the friendship between Pickle and Taco, and the friendship between Bo and Marshmallow. Um, but overall, this is definitely one of the more mediocre episodes of season one. So yeah, I guess we'll put it in C tier above. I'm not too sure whether to put it above or below Wardy Guacamole. So uh, I guess I'll put it below. Next we got episode 12, Crappy Anniversary. I thought this was definitely one of the better season one episodes in my opinion. Um, I like how Mifone tried to make this episode a lot more like episode one, and just everyone rejected that idea. Um, um, Also, it feels like the crew was just really happy and excited that they have made Inanimate Insanity for a year at the time, and thought it was pretty cool. So they kind of just made this like the 1 year anniversary special. Um, yeah, overall, I thought this was a pretty good episode. So actually am gonna put this in low B tier. Um, Episode 13, Inanimate Smackdown. I thought this was pretty good. Definitely one of the better episodes of season one. Um, the highlight of this episode has to be the scene between Paper and Evil Paper and Paper's contents. Um, I thought this was pretty good. Also I like the challenge during this episode. It was pretty interesting to watch, to say the least. Um, yeah, overall, I think Inanimate Smackdown was definitely one of the better episodes of season one. So yeah, I'll put it B tier below um, Crappy Anniversary. Um, Episode 14, The Great Escape. Okay, this episode definitely is one of the most missed potential episodes, probably in the entire series, because this definitely had the opportunity to be the best episode of season one, because the whole premise of this episode is that the eliminated contestants escapes the idiotic island, and there's a lot they could have done in with this concept, but what happened was that the Me phone says segment took way too much time. They definitely didn't focus a lot on the contestants escaping idiotic island, and yeah, overall this episode just really felt short. So yeah, since I would want to put this higher, I kind of gotta stick this. I actually don't know whether or not to put it low D or high D or low C. I'll put it C tier above foreseeing the future. Next we got episode 15, Tile Divide. Um, uh, I like this episode. It's pretty good. It brought Mifune Forest back. That was nice to see. Um, it also showed that it was really coming down to the wire with just the two alliances left. Um, but yeah, the challenge in this episode was honestly pretty short. I personally would like to see if it went on a little bit longer. But overall, I like this episode. It was definitely one of the better episodes of season one. So yeah, I'll put this C tier um, uh, above Wordy Guacamole. Next up, we got Penultimate Pool. This is honestly like what they were trying to do with episode 14, but 10 times better, because it definitely showed the eliminated contestants better than how they showed the eliminated contestants in episode 14. I also liked the eliminated contestants reacting to the three finalists. I thought that was I honestly found that to be pretty interesting. Um, yeah, overall, I think this is uh out of the season one episodes, more or less middle of the pack. So yeah, I guess I'll put it uh above Wordy Guacamole, below Tao Divine. Um, Next up we got Journey Through Memory Lane, parts one and two. I honestly think this is definitely a really good way to cap things off, because I mean, it definitely answers a lot of questions that went on throughout the series, and this is definitely one of the more lighthearted episodes. Pretty nice way to end off the series, if you ask me. So yeah, I guess I'll put them in mid B tier. They're both pretty good. So yeah, now we're done with season one, and we're moving on to season two. You will definitely not be hearing me say that I don't remember too much about this. Uh, you definitely won't hear me say that I don't remember a lot about a certain episode. Um. Anyway, starting us off, we got season two, episode one, breaking the ice. I thought this was a pretty good way to start off um season two. Um, I liked the seeing the new contestants interact with the old contestants, like the interaction between uh paintbrush, light bulb, and microphone. Um, but one problem that I have with this episode is that there's kind of like a little bit too much going on throughout it, because I mean you have to introduce like around 19 characters. Yeah, 'cause I'm pretty sure that's how many characters season two started off with. There were like two challenges. Um, yeah, this episode definitely could have been a lot shorter. So yeah, I think that's definitely one of the problems that this episode had. But overall, as an episode, I found this to be pretty good. So yeah, I'm gonna put this uh, B tier towards the middle. Um, Next up, we got episode two, March on Mars. I found this to be pretty good. I like how it shows the bright lights dynamic. I really like the rivalry between Paintbrush and Light Bulb throughout early season two. It's really nice to watch. Um, um, Also, I didn't like that the rivalry between Apple and Marshmallow ended in this episode. It was really nice to see them become friends. Um, but overall, I found this episode to be pretty good. So yeah, I guess I'll put this above the season one finale. Pretty good, pretty good. Next up, we got uh episode three, Try Your Best. Honestly, I didn't really like this episode. I don't think it's bad, but it's definitely pretty mediocre. Um, like we don't even really get to see most of the characters, especially since only like six of them competed in the actual challenge. Um, Honestly, I kind of found this episode to be pretty boring at times. This definitely was what one of the less eventful episodes throughout the series. So I guess I'll put this episode C tier below episode nine. Actually, I just remembered that Life Ring was introduced, so yeah, that automatically brings it up more. I love Life Ring, to be honest. Um, yeah, next up we got episode 4, Cooking for the Greater Good. Um, I found this to be pretty decent for what it is. I mean, even though I feel like it focuses a lot more on the bright lights and the grand slams didn't really get all that much. It's still pretty good. I really do like the rivalry between Light Bulb and Paintbrush. Um, I did like I really did like when all the other Object Show characters like Puffball Speaker Box and Window came to host. I found that to be pretty cool and interesting. Um, Also, I really did like the interactions between Cheesy and Silk throughout the challenge. But overall, I found this episode to be pretty mediocre. So yeah, I'll put this um, C tier below episode 3. Um, Episode 5, uh, A Kick in the Right Direction. I found this to be pretty mediocre as well. I I feel like a lot of people consider this to be the worst episode. I don't think so, because I feel like it shows like I feel like it gives an equal amount of screen time between the bright lights and the grand slams. It definitely really shows both teams' dynamic. Um, However, we didn't really get to see a character interacting with a character on another team. Well, besides the interactions between um, Apple and Knife. But besides that, the characters just like kind of really just stay with their teams, which isn't bad by any means. But yeah, it definitely kind of hurts this episode in the long run. Um, but one positive is that this episode introduces Doe, who I also really like. But overall, I found this episode to be pretty mediocre. So yeah, I guess I'll put it in high C tier. Uh, Next up, we got episode 6, letter RIP. Um, Honestly, I feel like this is where season 2 starts to change for the better because I feel like this is where all the arcs start because like everything really just starts here. Like we got Fan and Test Tube probably becoming friends for the first time. We got Suitcase and Balloon probably becoming friends for the first time. I've also got to see Mike and Cheesy becoming acquaintances for the first time, to say the least. Um, Also, this episode brought back Bo, which was pretty good, pretty nice to see. Also, I really liked Bo's interactions with Marshmallow. I found them pretty to be pretty cool. Also, I did like that this episode started the conflict between Apple and Marshmallow. I found that to be pretty good. So yeah, overall, I feel like this episode is definitely one of the better episodes of season 2. So yeah, I'm gonna give this a high B tier. Episode is episode 7. Everything's AOJ. I love this episode. It's definitely one of the better season 2 episodes. It's just like how fun this episode is. Like we got to see all the uh season 1 characters that didn't make it into season 2, like OJ, Pepper, So, Pickle. We also, speaking of Pickle, we also got to see that nice little scene between Knife and Pickle in the hotel. Um, um, Also, this shows the team dynamics pretty well between the Grand Slams and the Bright Lights. Um, Also, I really did like Soap in this episode. This is definitely one of the positives in this episode, especially the song "Keep on Cleaning." I found that to be pretty good. I liked that musical number. Um, overall, I found this episode to be pretty good and fun. So I'm actually gonna give this a solid A tier, in my opinion. Next up, we got episode 8, Theft and Battery. Um, I found this to be definitely one of the better episodes because I feel like this is where they start to expand on the arcs that were started in episode 6, because I feel like this kind of starts the arc with the alliance between Baseball, Nickel, and Suitcase. Um, Also, I liked that this episode introduced Meeple and its founder Steve Cobbs. Um, the episode definitely does introduce and add a lot of things to the series, which is definitely why I like it. Um, I also liked the little rivalry between Toilet and Meatpad, because correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's the first time Obito characters, host Obito characters, had their own arc and their own rivalry and their own conflict outside of their job. So yeah, I feel like a lot of things happened in this episode, which is why I'm giving it a solid A tier. Um, I actually feel that it's decently tied with episode 7. Everything's AOG, so yeah, consider these how you want to. So yeah, I guess I'll just leave it like this. Um, Next up we got episode 9. Rain on your charade. Rain on your charade. Um, I actually think, excuse me. I actually think it was actually a pretty overhated episode, because there's definitely a lot of positives that this episode has to offer. First, the elimination, because I feel like Soap's elimination was probably one of the most well done eliminations in Inanimate Insanity and in Obituate history ever, because I feel like her final words have to be some of the best in the series. Um, just telling Mike and Suitcase to listen to their hearts and while willingly walking into the portal. It's just such a good way to end off her character throughout the series. Um, also got to see the little interaction between Fan and Knife. I actually found that to be pretty good, and definitely the main highlight of this episode is the Mike and Taco scene in the forest. I found that to be pretty well done and pretty good. Um, yeah, actually. Oh, there's also the scene between Suitcase and Balloon. I really did like that scene between Suitcase and Balloon, where Balloon talks about his talk with OJ in the hotel, and Suitcase just telling Balloon that he needs to believe in himself, because otherwise, no one will. I feel like that scene was pretty good. I just really don't know why many people hate this episode. I feel like there's definitely a lot of positives about this that this episode has to offer. One negative that this episode does have is that a lot of parts about it feel very experimental in a way. But yeah, overall, I feel like this episode was pretty good and decently overhated. So yeah, I'm actually gonna put this high B tier above episode 6. Why not? Next up we got episode 10, Mazed and Confused. Honestly, this is definitely one of the better episodes of season 2. I really do like this one. I really do, because it shows it doesn't necessarily show both team dynamics, because this definitely focuses a lot more on the Grand Slams. And when I say Grand Slams, I mean like pretty much only the alliance between Nickel, Baseball, Suitcase, and along with Balloon. Um, Even though the Grand Slams definitely get a lot more screen time than the Bright Lights in this episode, Um, that doesn't mean to say that the Red Lights didn't get screen time at all, because I really didn't I really did like the Bright Lights, especially Fan in this episode. I like the pairing between Fan and Lightbulb in this episode. Um, I also really liked uh Paintbrush and Fan's interactions in the maze. during this episode. Uh, Overall, I just really do like Fan throughout this episode. I really just like his positive energy. Um, but honestly, the main highlight that this episode has to offer is like the last around like 2 minutes. Um, with everyone left in the game, just listening to the spoiled lemming concert. That has to be probably one of the best ways they ever ended off an Inanimate Insanity episode. Um, yeah, overall, I feel like this episode is really, really, really good. So yeah, I'm gonna put this in high A tier, high A tier. All right, episode 11, kick the bucket. The episode everyone knows and loves. I think it's pretty good. I think it's pretty good. I mean, I wouldn't say it's my favorite episode, like a lot of people would say, but honestly, it's definitely up there for one of my favorite Inanimate Insanity episodes ever because like it shows the it shows the conflict between suitcase, nickel, baseball, and balloon. Um, it has the song "Afterlight" in the Limelight, which I honestly think is definitely one of the best songs in Inanimate Insanity so far. Because definitely like emphasizes what was happening in the show at that time. Um, I honestly think it's a lot better than Keep on Cleaning. Don't get me wrong, Keep on Cleaning definitely had its own charm, but I think overall, uh, lyric wise and story wise and just song wise in general, the after life in the limelight is definitely the better song of the two. Um, anyway, um, another thing I like about this episode is that the three main storylines in this episode, the Mike and Taco storyline, the Bo and Marshmallow storyline, and the Suitcase Alliance and Balloon storyline, all intertwine with one another to make an episode. Because I mean, Balloon ended up losing the Grand Slams, costing the Grand Slams the challenge, I should say. And this wouldn't have happened if Mike didn't talk to Balloon on the dock. Mike wouldn't have done this if Taco didn't overhear Nickel and Baseball give Balloon I mean, Suitcase giving Balloon the such a big role on the challenge. See how well all those storylines intertwine to make an episode. I will say that the Bo and Marshmallow storyline didn't really uh, intertwine with the other two. However, there would have been no reason for this song if it weren't for the Bo and Marshmallow storyline. So yeah, I found that to be pretty good. Also, speaking of the Bo and Marshmallow storyline, I feel like the arc between Marshmallow and Apple was probably the best way they could have ended that arc, just with mm, uh, Marshmallow and Apple looking at each other, ready to be each other's friends again. It probably has to be the best ways they could have ended off that arc. But yeah. Also, this is the episode where they introduced contestant vote, so yeah, that's also a plus. Overall, there's definitely a lot of good things to say about this episode. So yeah, it's pretty obvious that this episode is going into the S tier. No questions asked. Next up, you have episode 12, alternate reality show, which I also think is pretty good. Definitely one of my favorite season 2 episodes. Um, I wouldn't say it's my favorite because I mean a certain episode does exist which I do think is better than it. Cough cough. Mind your own business. Cough cough. Anyway, um, if like alternate reality show is pretty good. I like that it expands on the arc between Lightbulb and Paintbrush. I like that it also ends the arc between Lightbulb and Paintbrush with with Lightbulb thinking that she's letting us to paint paintbrush. Uh, so a test tube and light bulb go on this adventure back in time, and which ends up with ends off with light bulb realizing that she doesn't. I still want to quote what they said in the episode. I like that it ends off with light bulb realizing that she doesn't follow follow solutions. She recognizes them, which I honestly feel like is probably one of the best ways they could have ended off the arc between paintbrush and light bulb. Um, I will say that the screen time in this episode is definitely not well balanced because I mean test tube, light bulb, and paintbrush definitely get a lot more screen time than any other character throughout this episode. But I actually do like unbalanced amount of screen time because I feel like it really what's the word I'm looking for? It definitely gives more attention to the arc between a light bulb and paintbrush. I mean, it's definitely one of the bigger arcs and the series has to offer. So I feel like you made an entire episode to like end of is pretty fitting. Um, Also, I feel like I can't talk about this episode without talking about the song "Just Like Me." I really do like "Just Like Me." It really it really fits the whole arc between um light bulb and paintbrush. I mean, also one thing I do want to say about this episode before I rank it is that I really do like that Salt and Pepper were relevant because I mean they could have honestly used any character to represent Salt and Pepper in this episode. But I'm glad that they did pick this dynamic duo because I mean they definitely haven't gotten that much screen time and in the episode up until that point, and just I'm just glad that they were relevant in that episode. To be honest, um, yeah. Overall, I feel like alternate reality show is definitely one of the better season 2 episodes in my opinion. So that's why I'm gonna give it S tier above Kick the Bucket. No questions asked. Next up, we got Mind Your Own Business, which I think is honestly the best season 2 episode, in my opinion. Um, where do I start? Like, there's just I feel like I really do like that it gives an equal amount of screen time to every character. Also, I like the three main uh uh storylines in this episode. The storyline between Knife, Mike, and Taco. The storyline between Baseball and Test Tube, and the storyline between Fian and Suitcase. Because I really do like all three of those storylines. It really advances the arcs that it really advances the arc between Knife, Mike, and Taco, and the arc between Suitcase, Nickel, and Baseball. Um, I also like that it gives us information about Meeple in a very creative way by also giving us information about where the characters are in terms of how far they are in their character arc. Um, um, Overall, I do like that this episode is an auto elimination. And I really do like auto eliminations in Obituos. I feel like they're better than contestant vote and viewer vote eliminations, just in my opinion. Um, yeah, overall, I feel like this is definitely one of the better episodes of season 2, which is why I'm gonna give Mind Your Own Business an S tier above alternate reality show. Yeah, and I also think it's the best episode. So yeah, next up we got episode 14, hatching the plan. Um, Okay, okay. I'm gonna go on a rant towards the end of towards the end of me talking about this episode. So yeah. Anyway, next up we got hatching the plan. Honestly, I really do like this episode. I really do. I mean, even though I feel like it kind of, sort of, it follows the ways of episode 12 and episode 13 by obviously giving a certain group of characters a lot more screen time than others. Because I mean, let's be real, Fan, Test Tube, and I guess Mike and Taco definitely got a lot more screen time than any other character in this episode. But even though that is the case, it didn't feel like other characters like Suitcase, um, Knife, and Lightbulb didn't get any screen time at all, because I feel like all four of them do something that advances the plot. Like Knife kind of forming an alliance with Suitcase in baseball, and Lightbulb uh, telling Test Tube that it's not what you do, but how you do it. Um, and making Test Tube realize that what she did was wrong, and finally making Test Tube apologize to Fan. Um, but the biggest problem I have with this episode is easily the elimination, because honestly, I really didn't like baseball and how he was written in the elimination. Because honestly, I really didn't feel that it made sense for him to vote against Test Tube during the elimination, because they're trying to make this a parallel to the elimination in episode 11, where Suitcase votes against Nickel because she prioritized friendship over the game. But baseball in this situation did the exact opposite, because uh, he voted for Test Tube because apparently he prioritizes the game over friendship, which is definitely not a parallel to the elimination during episode 11. So yeah, that's definitely one of the biggest problems that this episode has, in my opinion. Um, but overall, I feel like this episode is it's pretty good. But I just feel like the elimination really weighs it down in the long run. So yeah, I'm gonna give this a solid A-tier ranking, above Mason Confused. All right, so next up, we got the season three episodes. Um, yeah, starting us off, we got episode one, Stranded in Paradise, which I thought it was pretty good. Definitely introduces the vibe of season three pretty well. Um, I liked how the new contestants were introduced, and I also really liked that how the returning players were introduced. Um, I really did like the team interactions in this episode. Also, one thing I just want to say about season two and season three, I feel like season three does a better job at showing the team dynamics, and season two definitely does a better job at showing uh, conflicts between a certain character uh, than than a group of characters. But anyway, overall, I feel like this was a pretty good way to start off season three. So that's why I'm gonna give this episode a tier ranking, above episode 8, above below episode 10. Next up, we got episode 2, The Shame of the Name. I thought this was pretty good. Honestly, I found this honestly, I found this episode to be a step down from episode one, because I felt like this was definitely a lot less action packed due to the challenges literally being uh, that the teams had to come up with a name for them. Um, One thing I really do like about this episode is the Pinkers dynamic between Cabby, Test Tube, and Fan. Um, Even though it did ultimately end up with Fan getting eliminated, I found it to be pretty good. Honestly, I did find Fan's elimination in season 3 to be pretty well timed, in my opinion. Um, yeah, overall, I feel like episode 2 of season 3 was pretty good, so I'm gonna give this a very low 8 here. Uh, Next up, we got episode 3, Snapshot Showdown, which I honestly found to be pretty good. Originally, I thought this episode was gonna be a step down from episode 1 and 2 because I mean that was the case, and I honestly found that to be the case in seasons 1 and 2. If you just look at this tier list, but if anything, I was like, I thought that was the complete opposite because I definitely thought this was a major step up from both episodes because I feel like it shows the dynamics very well. Um, it really did like how the characters were written in this episode. Um, so I really do like the Sinkers dynamic throughout this episode. Um, since the Sinkers did lose a lot in the first 6 episodes of uh, Inanimate Insanity Invitational, they definitely did get a lot more screen time than the other two teams. But I feel like the Sinkers overall are just a better team than the Fingers and the Pinkers because I feel like their dynamic is just all more interesting to watch. So yeah. Also, I really did like the elimination. Probably one of the better eliminations in an admin insanity. Definitely not the best, but it was pretty good. It's pretty good. But overall, I feel like this episode was honestly one of the better season 3 episodes. So I'm gonna put this A tier above episode 1. Next up, we got episode 4, the Overthinkers. I found this episode to be pretty good. This definitely takes different uh, a different approach from the other episodes of season 3, and honestly, that's why I like it a lot. Even though it really is just the thinker deciding who they'll eliminate, what happens throughout this process is very interesting to watch. Like especially like Yin Yang. I feel like Yin Yang is easily the highlight of this episode because of it's just like how no one's just taking him seriously, which ultimately ended up with him with half teams conspiring against him in the elimination. Also, I really did like Candle in this episode because talking about her inner flame. Um, One thing that I really don't like about this episode is how Silver Spoon was written during the elimination. I already talked about this in my Inanimate Insanity Invitational characters tier list, so I don't want to repeat myself here. But overall, I really did not like how Silver Spoon was written in the episode 4 elimination, in my opinion. Anyway, yeah, I really do like this episode, so I'm gonna give this an A tier above episode 3. Next up, we got episode 5. Honestly, I feel like this is easily the worst season 2 episode in my opinion. Um, Honestly, I feel like this was one of the more shorter episodes, not only with the runtime but also with the narrative because like the challenge was abruptly ended due to Bugs's injury. The argument between Cabby and Test Tube felt extremely forced. Um, However, I didn't like the flipping between the Sinkers and the Pinkers argument. Um, but yeah, even though there are a lot of problems about with this episode, with especially with the abrupt ending and the uh argument between uh, Cabby and Test Tube, there definitely are some positives. Like I feel like the thinkers are definitely the highlight of this episode, especially the scene where they dropped the eggs, judging by their facial expressions alone. But overall, I feel like this episode is definitely one of the more mediocre episodes in the series. So yeah, I'm gonna give this a high B tier. Um, I'm not too sure whether or not to put it above or below episode 9. I guess I'll put it above. Next up, we got episode 6, Try Not to Laugh Challenge. I feel like this was pretty good, even though it definitely focuses on the sinkers than the other two teams. I found this to be pretty good. Honestly, one of the better season 3 episodes, in my opinion, because I feel like the sinkers' dysfunctionality was definitely shown throughout the challenge. Um, which so their loss in the challenge was very inevitable. Um, that doesn't mean that the other two teams didn't get screen time at all, because I mean we also got to see the thinkers and the floor is stage fright. I found that to be pretty good. Also, I didn't really like that. One thing about the floor is stage fright that I didn't really like is that how it kind of abruptly ends. I really think they should have experimented with his stage fright a little bit more. Also, I liked the interactions between Silver Spoon and Paintbrush when they were watching the challenge. I found those to be pretty good. Uh, the Pinkers, even though they definitely didn't get that much screen time throughout the challenge, I found them to be pretty enjoyable. Overall, I felt I thought this episode was pretty good. So yeah, I'm gonna give this a solid A tier above episode 4. Um, next up we got the most recent episode as of when I'm making this, Inanimate Insanity Invitational, uh, episode 7, Best Search Cold, and this is easily my favorite Inanimate Insanity Invitational episode, uh, mainly because of the team swapping, and the character interactions after the team swapping. I feel like they're all really well done, and I like that the challenge lasts for a really long time, so we can also see how, uh, so we can also see the characters interact a bit longer, especially with them interacting with the new characters. But the highlight of this episode easily has to be the elimination. It probably has to be the most well done eliminations in an unintended invitational as of right now. Um, yeah, especially especially like when halfway through the vote reveal and it's shown that Cappy has 3 votes and Silverspin has 1, with it just fading to black and Test Tube saying, "If I didn't solve the problem, then who else would?" With followed by Test Tube picking up a folder, then giving it to the rest of the team, and everyone's facial expressions to the folders with it was, and then showing that Cappy ended up getting eliminated. Probably has to be the best ways that they could have done the elimination. A problem that I did have with the elimination is that I didn't wasn't a fan about with how uh, the the characters were opening the folders as the votes were being revealed. I feel like that would make a lot more sense to reveal it after the fact, but it's still pretty good. Also, I liked the reveal that Bo was a robot. I found that to be a pretty nice reveal. in my opinion. But overall, I found this episode to be definitely one of the better. As a matter of fact, the best season 3 episode as of right now. So that's why I'm gonna give this an S tier above Kick the Bucket. And yeah, that does it. This is my Inanimate Insanity episodes tier list as of best served clone. So yeah, happy 11 year anniversary of Inanimate Insanity. Um, yeah, that's gonna do it for this video. If you want to check out my another one of my videos, it'll be somewhere on the screen. If you want to check out Inanimate Insanity's uh animation epic, what I meant to say. If you want to check out animation epic, it will be somewhere on the screen now. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. And yeah, happy 11-year anniversary in Inanimate Insanity.